Let's get it on. That's love, baby.
1973 was a big year for R&B. Some songs made people fall in love, some songs made people dance, and some songs still get played today. But here's what most fans don't know. Behind every hit, there was a rise. And behind every rise, there was a fall. You think you know these songs, but do you really know their story? Stay with me, because number 1 will surprise you. Number 10, The New Birth, Wildflower.
She's faced the hardest time you could imagine.
Picture this. It is 1973. A soul group called The New Birth is trying to prove they are more than a one-hit act.
Many times her eyes.
Earlier that year, they had already scored a hit with a song called It's Been a Long Time. Now they were about to take a real chance. They decided to cover a song that already belonged to somebody else.
Fought back the tears, Lord, Lord.
The New Birth was signed to RCA Records. Their producer was a man named Harvey Fuqua. Fuqua was not new to this business. He used to run his own record label years before, and he had worked inside Motown itself, helping shape hit after hit for other artists.
When her youthful world was about to fall in.
He knew exactly how to take a song and give it real feeling. The song they chose to cover was called Wildflower. It had first been a hit for a Canadian band, but the New Birth wanted to turn it into a soul ballad, something slower, something that felt like it came from deep inside the chest.
Each time I slim the shoulder of the way.
Their version came out in the fall of 1973. It talks about love as something fragile and rare, like a flower you are almost afraid to touch. In the United States, it climbed to number 17 on the R&B chart. That is a solid hit, but not their biggest one that year. Overseas, in England, something different happened. The song became a much bigger hit there than it ever was back home. It crossed into the top 10 across the ocean, even while American radio treated it as just another song on the album. Here is a fun fact that shows how personal this song really was. The lead singer, Leslie Wilson, said he thought about the woman he wanted to spend his whole life with while he was recording it. He said once you get into that kind of feeling, the emotion just pours out of your voice on its own. You cannot fake that kind of delivery. You either feel it or you do not. So why did this song slowly fade from memory here at home? The New Birth went through a lot of change. Members came and went. Not long after this song, the group left both their producer and their label, RCA, behind. Without one steady team pushing the song year after year, it slipped quietly out of the spotlight in America. But every time you hear it today, that tender, aching feeling is still right there in every single note, waiting for someone to notice it again. If you are enjoying this so far, keep watching. Number 9 takes us into a song that would not become a household name in America until a filmmaker gave it new life decades later. Number 9, Bloodstone, Natural High. Now let us talk about a group that had to leave their own country just to get a real shot. Bloodstone started out in Kansas City. For years, nobody in the American music business wanted to take a chance on them. Doors kept closing, so they made a bold move. They packed up and went to London, England, hoping someone across the ocean would finally listen. That decision changed everything. It was there they recorded their second album, called Natural High, with a producer named Mike Vernon, working out of a studio in Los Angeles called The Village Recorder. The title song, Natural High, was written by their own bass player, a man named Charles McCormick. It is a slow, dreamy love song. It talks about the feeling of being so in love that you do not need anything else in the world. Just that person. Just that feeling. When it came out in early 1973, it climbed all the way to number 4 on the R&B chart and number 10 on the pop chart. Think about that for a second. This is a group that could not get signed at home, and now they had a top 10 hit across the entire country.
Why do I feel this way?
Here is something most fans do not know. Decades later, filmmaker Quentin Tarantino used this exact song in his movie Jackie Brown. That single choice introduced Natural High to a whole new generation of listeners who had never even heard of Bloodstone before. Suddenly, an old soul ballad from 1973 was playing in movie theaters and on soundtracks, reaching ears it never touched the first time around. So why did Bloodstone slowly fade from the conversation, even with a hit this big? They never had another song reach quite this height again.
Take me in your arms, thrill me.
And because their success started overseas before it ever came home, many casual fans in America never fully connected the name Bloodstone with the song they loved.
With all of your charm.
People remember the sound, they hum the melody, but ask them who sang it, and many go quiet. That is the strange thing about a rise built far from home. Sometimes the song becomes bigger than the group who made it.
If this song just hits you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul, the kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 8, The Stylistics, Rockin' Roll Baby. The Stylistics were known for one of the smoothest, gentlest sounds in all of R&B. Their harmonies felt like a warm hug on a cold day. By 1973, they were already one of the biggest vocal groups in the genre. Thanks to a songwriting and production team built around Tom Bell and a young songwriter named Linda Creed. Together, this duo helped shape what people now call the Philadelphia sound. Rockin' Roll Baby was the title track from their third album, released on the Avco label in the fall of 1973. But here is something that might surprise you. This is not a simple love song like most people assume. The lyrics actually tell the story of a baby born into the touring life of a working musician. A child who grows up backstage, learning the rhythm of the road before he even learns to walk or talk. It is a tender, unusual idea for a hit single, and it captured something real about the life so many musicians of that era were living. Always on the move, always performing, sometimes missing out on a normal home life. The song became a big hit, reaching number 3 on the R&B chart and number 14 on the pop chart. It was recorded at Sigma Sound Studios in Philadelphia, the same building where so many of that era's greatest soul records were being made, all with those lush strings and horns that made the Philadelphia sound instantly recognizable. So why does this particular song sometimes get forgotten, even by fans who love the Stylistics? Because this same album also contained You Make Me Feel Brand New, a song that would go on to become one of the biggest hits of their entire career. When one song from an album becomes a legendary classic, the other songs sitting right next to it can quietly fall into its shadow, even when they deserve just as much attention. We are a few minutes into this countdown now. If you are enjoying it, smash that like button. It really helps this channel keep telling these stories. Number 7. The Pointer Sisters. Yes, We Can. This one is different from anything else on our list today. The Pointer Sisters were not a typical R&B group. Four sisters from Oakland, California, raised inside their father's church, they blended gospel, jazz, and old-style swing into something nobody else was doing in 1973.
Try to live as brothers and try to find peace within without.
They even dressed in vintage clothing from the 1930s and 1940s on stage, which made them stand out instantly from every other act around them.
Stepping on one another and do respect the women of the world.
Before this song, they had already tried and failed with a different label. They signed several singles to Atlantic Records that simply went nowhere. Then they moved to a smaller label called Blue Thumb Records, and everything changed.
Remember, you all had mothers. We gotta make this land a better land.
Their producer, David Rubinson, suggested they record a song called Yes, We Can. It had been written years earlier by the great New Orleans songwriter Allen Toussaint, and it had already been a modest hit for a singer named Lee Dorsey back in 1970. Almost nobody outside of soul music circles had ever heard it.
And the world in which we live, we gotta help each man be a better man.
The Pointer Sisters gave it new life. Their version came out in the summer of 1973, and it carried a message about people coming together, no matter their differences. It reached number 11 on the pop chart and became their very first hit as a group, launching their entire career.
With the kindness that we give, I know we can.
Here is a fun fact. Their debut album became a word-of-mouth success, largely because of stunning live performances at a famous Los Angeles club called the Troubadour.
I know that we can. I know darn well we can work it out. Oh, yes, we can.
People who saw them live could not stop talking about what they had just witnessed, and that buzz helped carry the record onto the radio.
We can, yes, we can, or why can't we if we wanna, yes, we can. I know we.
Why does this song get forgotten today by casual fans? Because the Pointer Sisters became huge stars later in the 1980s, with more pop and dance hits.
Can make it work. I know we can make it if we try.
Songs like this one, rooted in gospel and jazz and soul, get pushed aside in people's memory by the newer, flashier hits that came after. But this was where it all started, and without this song, none of what came later would have happened. Number 6. The Spinners. Could It Be I'm Falling in Love?
Since I met you, I've begun to feel so.
The Spinners spent 9 long years at Motown, watching other groups like The Temptations and the Four Tops land hit after hit, while they mostly sat on the sidelines.
Strange. Every time I speak your
Only 2 albums came out during all that time. It must have been hard to watch that happen, year after year, without your own turn.
name. That's funny. You say that you are so.
In 1972, they finally left for Atlantic Records, and everything changed the moment they met producer Tom Bell. Bell had already built hits for other groups, and now he brought his lush, orchestral style to the Spinners.
Helpless too, that you don't know what you do.
Their first single together, I'll Be Around, became a massive hit. For the follow-up, twin songwriters named Melvin and Mervyn Steels, working under the name Mistro and Lyric, brought Bell a song called Could It Be I'm Falling in Love?
Each night I pray there will
It almost went to someone else first. The song had already been turned down by another singing duo before it ever reached the Spinners.
never come a day when you up and take.
Here is something touching that most fans never learn. The song was inspired by Melvin's real childhood sweetheart, a girl named Adrena, whom he dated as a teenager and later actually married. That real love story is baked into every line of the lyrics.
Your love away. Say you feel the same way too.
In the studio, Tom Bell made one key decision that changed everything. The song was originally written to be faster and more up-tempo. Bell chose to slow it down, and that slower, sweeter pace is exactly what made it a classic.
And I wonder what it is I feel for.
Recorded at Sigma Sound Studios in Philadelphia with the legendary house band MFSB backing them up, the song became a massive hit, reaching number 1 on the R&B chart and number 4 on the pop chart, selling over 1 million copies. So why do people sometimes overlook this song now, even with all that success? Because the Spinners had so many hits during this exact stretch of years that some songs blend together for casual listeners.
With you, baby.
True fans remember every detail. But for many people, this beautiful, deeply personal love song gets lumped in with all their other classics. Its real story forgotten along the way. Number 5. Aretha Franklin, Master of Eyes. Now we reach a name almost everyone knows, Aretha Franklin. But this particular song from her catalog carries one of the strangest, saddest stories on this entire list. Master of Eyes, The Deepness of Your Eyes, was released in January of 1973 as the lead single meant to introduce her upcoming album, working this time with a new producer, the legendary Quincy Jones, instead of her usual longtime team at Atlantic Records. The lyrics talk about being completely captured by someone's gaze, unable to look away, drawn in by something almost hypnotic. It reached number 8 on the R&B chart, a respectable hit, but not one of her biggest. Here comes the part almost nobody knows. When her album finally came out that June, called Hey Now Hey, The Other Side of the Sky, this song, the very single meant to introduce it, was left off completely. Nobody ever gave a clear public reason why. Some critics at the time even pointed it out directly, calling its absence strange and hard to explain. Imagine recording a song, releasing it as your first single, and then watching it get left off your own album entirely. That almost never happens to an artist as big as Aretha Franklin. Here is a fact many fans do not know. Despite all this confusion, the song actually won Aretha a Grammy Award the following year for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. So even while the industry seemed unsure what to do with it, the voice inside the record was still recognized as something special. Why did this song fade into the background over time? The album itself was seen by many critics as one of her more uneven records. A strange detour into jazz experiments that did not fully land with fans. Because the song never even appeared on the album it was written for, it had no natural home. It became an orphan in her catalog, brilliant, but stranded, waiting decades before it finally reappeared on a later reissue for fans to rediscover. Number 4. The Four Tops. Ain't No Woman Like the One I've Got. The Four Tops had already built their entire legacy at Motown, but by 1973, they had left that label behind for a fresh start at ABC Dunhill Records. Many people in the industry doubted this move. Leaving Motown, the biggest soul label in the country, felt like a gamble that could easily end a career instead of saving one. That gamble paid off in a big way with Ain't No Woman Like the One I've Got. Written and produced by Dennis Lambert, Brian Potter, and Steve Barry. The song is a tribute to loyal, real love, the kind that stays steady through everything life throws at it.
Every day the sun comes up around her.
Lead singer Levi Stubbs carried the emotion of the song with the other three tops trading in supporting lead lines behind him. It became their biggest hit in years, reaching number 4 on the pop chart and even hitting number 1 on the Cashbox chart that same year. It was certified gold.
And make the birds sing harmony.
Here is a story passed down from people who were there at the time. As the tale goes, Motown founder Berry Gordy once walked into the office of one of the song's producers, saw the gold record for this very song hanging proudly on the wall, and joked about wanting to smash it with a golf club.
A drop of rain is glad it found her. Heaven.
Whether that story is told with a little exaggeration or not, it says everything about how much this song stung the label the group had just walked away from.
Must have made her just for me.
So why does this massive hit sometimes get forgotten today? Because the Four Tops are so tightly linked in most people's minds to their classic Motown years. This later triumph, proving they could thrive completely outside that machine, often gets left out of the story people tell about the group.
She smiles so warm and tender.
It deserves far more credit than it usually receives, because it proved that leaving home does not always mean losing everything. We are about halfway through this countdown now. Which song has hit you hardest so far? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Number 3. Gladys Knight and the Pips. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. This is one of the most emotional songs on our entire list. Gladys Knight and the Pips released Neither One of Us in December of 1972, right at the very end of their long run at Motown, produced by Joe Porter.
We're not gonna make it.
It was written by Jim Weatherly, a former college football player from Mississippi who had turned to songwriting after his sports career did not work out the way he hoped. The song tells the story of a couple who both already know their relationship is over, but neither one wants to be the one who says it first out loud. It is about pride, about fear, and about holding on just a little longer even when you know deep down it is time to let go.
To the point where we just
It became a massive hit, reaching number 2 on the pop chart and number 1 on the R&B chart. It also won the group a Grammy Award for Best Pop Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group.
can't fake it.
Here is the part of the story that makes it even more powerful. This song came out at almost the exact same moment Gladys Knight and the Pips announced they were leaving Motown for a new label, Buddha Records, tired of feeling like they were never truly a priority there.
For someone got me reason.
So this Grammy-winning chart-topping hit ended up being their swan song, their very last single released through the label that had been their home for years.
We just won't let it down.
Why do casual fans sometimes forget just how big this song really was? Because Gladys Knight went on to have such a long, decorated career afterward, including even bigger hits like Midnight Train to Georgia. Some of her earlier classics, even ones as massive as this, quietly get overshadowed by everything that came later.
Guess neither one of us wants to.
True fans never forget it. But sometimes even a Grammy-winning goodbye needs a reminder before people realize just how much history is packed inside it. Number 2. Millie Jackson, Hurt So Good.
First you take my heart in the palm of your hands and you squeeze it tight.
Now we reach the song with the real controversy behind it. I mentioned earlier that this countdown had a story that needed unpacking fully. This is that story.
Then you take my mind and play with.
Millie Jackson released Hurt So Good in 1973 on Spring Records. It was produced by Brad Shapiro and recorded down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, a small studio town that quietly produced some of the greatest soul records of the era.
This all night. You take my pride.
The song was featured in the film Cleopatra Jones, a popular movie of that time, and that exposure helped push it to become her biggest hit yet, reaching number 3 on the R&B chart and number 24 on the pop chart.
And you throw it up against the wall. You take me.
At the time this particular song came out, it was actually a fairly straightforward soul ballad about loving someone who is simply not good for you, the kind of ache almost anyone can relate to. But here comes the controversy.
In your arms, baby, and bounce me like a rubber ball.
Just 1 year later, in 1974, Millie Jackson released an album that introduced something completely different. Long, raw, explicit spoken word sections mixed between her songs. Talking openly about cheating and relationships in a way almost nobody else in mainstream soul music dared to do at the time.
I'm not complaining. What you're doing, you see.
In interviews over the years, Millie Jackson has said her whole career felt like an accident. That opportunity simply knocked and she chose to open the door.
'Cause this hurting feeling is ooh so.
There are different versions of how much this bold new image was her own choice, and how much of it was pushed by a label trying to make her stand out in an incredibly crowded market of soul singers, all fighting for the same audience.
Good to me, don't you know that it hurts so good?
The result was mixed for her legacy. This new, daring reputation made her one of the boldest, most unforgettable voices in the history of R&B. Someone people still study and admire today.
Don't you know that it hurts?
But it also meant that this earlier, gentler song, Hurt So Good, quietly got pulled into the shadow of her later, more provocative work. Some radio programmers became cautious about her entire catalog, worried about complaints, even for songs that had nothing scandalous about them at all. It shows how one artist's reputation can lift her legacy up in one direction, while quietly burying an earlier, more innocent chapter of her own story in another.
If this song just hit you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul, the kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 1. Marvin Gaye. Let's Get It On. And here we are. Number 1. The song that almost everyone recognizes within the first 2 seconds, no matter their age. Marvin Gaye released Let's Get It On June 15, 1973, on Motown's Tamla label. He wrote and produced it alongside a man named Ed Townsend, who had just come out of treatment for alcoholism when the two of them first started writing together. Interestingly, Townsend later said his original idea for the song was not even about romance at all. He said it began as a message about overcoming addiction and simply moving forward with life. But by the time Marvin Gaye finished shaping it in the studio at Hitsville West in Los Angeles, it had transformed into one of the most sensual love songs ever recorded. This was a major turning point for Marvin Gaye. His previous album, What's Going On, had been about the pain and struggle happening out in the wider world. This new song turned the camera around, pointing it inward, towards something deeply personal instead. The song became a massive commercial success, reaching number 1 on both the pop chart and the R&B chart, staying at the very top of the pop chart for 2 full weeks. It is still considered one of the most influential love songs in the entire history of R&B music. Here is something many fans do not know. Marvin Gaye was going through the painful, slow collapse of his marriage while he recorded this album. His wife at the time, Anna Gordy, was the sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy himself, which made the situation even more complicated and painful behind the scenes. Some of the romantic tension captured on the microphone during these sessions was reportedly aimed not at his wife, but toward a much younger woman he had recently met, who would eventually become his second wife. That raw, real emotional conflict is baked directly into every note of the vocal performance. It was not just a performance. For him, in that moment, it was deeply, painfully personal. So why does a song this massive still need to be talked about today instead of just played and forgotten? Because so many people know the title and can hum the opening notes instantly, yet very few actually know the full story of the man behind it. And the quiet heartbreak he was carrying the entire time he recorded it. That is the rise and fall we started this whole countdown talking about. The rise to number 1, right there in front of the whole world. And the very personal struggle happening quietly behind the scenes the entire time, hidden underneath all that sound. We are getting close to the end now. Thanks for sticking with this whole journey through 1973.